You look gorgeous, honey.
If you walk down the runway, like, you better come and come ready.
Judges.
And welcome to Intro Verse. And this is our guest we've got on today called Jazz. I'll let her introduce herself.
Now.
Right now.
Right now. Yeah. Hi, I'm Jazz. I am a TV producer, voguer, dancer, roller skater, and I sometimes model. I do it all, babes.
Yeah, do it all.
It sounds so like, it sounds so, no, it doesn't sound boastful. I think I always think like, listening off the stuff that you do, like, you kind of like, I don't know, you got to rep your shit, like the things that you do that you're passionate about. Sometimes I get a little like, oh, I don't do this, or like, I used to always be like, friends of mine who are dancers, I'd like meet other dancers and I'd be like, oh, I dance kind of, and they'd be like, no, you're also a dancer.
Yeah.
But a little bit about what you did before as well. You did law as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I studied law at university, at the University of Bristol. From when I was maybe
Which is quite a change from what you're doing now.
It's quite a change, yeah.
That's what I find so interesting as well.
What was the journey into that?
The journey, what's to describe the process?
Yeah, what's the process?
What's the process? So from when I was little, maybe like 4 or 5, my only dream ever was to be a judge. That was it.
What
and
inspired that? What were you watching on TV?
I think 100%. I think, like, if I'm being completely honest, I think maybe that's how this transition to TV has happened, because I think what my idea of a judge, or what I thought a career in law would be, was turning up in like a power suit, like representing like the disadvantaged and being like, order, or like, I object, and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I then got to university and I was like, oh my God, this is not me at all. This isn't what I thought it would be. Like, I wanted to do law, but then what I was really passionate about always growing up was dance. But I never pursued it. Like, it wasn't even an option. I remember thinking at the time, dance will never make me money. So that's just like, that's not even in the realms of possibility.
But were you surrounding yourself with communities that, you know, did a lot of dancing? Or were you surrounding yourself with the people that, I guess, were just lawyers? Or, I mean, how did you get to the point where you wanted to move down to, obviously, dancing?
Well,
Yeah,
like, I
what's that
wouldn't say
shift?
my career now is dancing. Like, I work in TV, but I mean, I grew up in a very small town in a county called Dorset, and it's like whiter than white. And I think as well, if you grow up in like Swanage, you either stay there forever or you try to leave as soon as possible. And so it was like, for most of my friends and stuff our age, it was always like, you had to pick a like university vocation, because like that was your ticket to get out of the town we grew up in. Like, if you wanted to leave Dorset, like, what are you going to do? You've either got to go to uni or you've got to get a job. And I mean, I don't think there was anyone really doing much creative. There's not much opportunities down there. It's very beautiful, but there's like not really much going on. And so I was like, well, I'm going law, that's like my ticket out of there. And so then as soon as I got to university, and then like law just wasn't giving. It was not giving. It wasn't giving.
I can't imagine, you know.
But this is it. And so I think I suffered my first like almost identity crisis, because like up until that point, everything had been, well, I'm going to be Jazz the lawyer. Like, that's it. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Suddenly, it almost felt quite trapping that this thing that I'd been so focused on, I was kind of then like, well, this was what I was meant to do, this is what I'm meant to be. So like, what am I going to do now? And I mean, I stuck with my degree. It was painful, but I sat through all of it. It's so hard to like make what you're passionate about your career, and there's real pros and cons to that. Because obviously you always want to, like, the reason you go into like creative stuff is because you're passionate about it and talented. But then you've then got, in ways it's almost quite nice. Like, at the moment my job is creative in telly, but at the same time the things that I'm most excited by or that I do for joy are so far removed from that. So I don't know how it would feel if like my work, like if my work was just like skating and dancing, I don't know how I'd feel, because then that's what I do to balance.
Interesting that you put that out.
My side hustle was doing that, DJing, and now it's like, I'm literally like, what's my side hustle to DJing? And it's like, you know, doing bits of modelling here and there, but it's not like modelling jobs are consistent, you know what I mean? It's not like you can live off that unless you're like a supermodel. So just trying to find things. But I was going to say, earlier on you mentioned about being part of the Voguing, your voguer, you said roller skater, like, how do you navigate all these different communities, and like, what do they bring? Yeah, what do they bring into your life? Like, what about these communities makes you feel fulfilled?
Like I just used to always feel that I was like performing who jazz is. Like this is the this is the jazz show. And then like I came into ballroom. I found it when I came to I was always a bedroom voguer, and then I moved to London and I knew there was a scene here, and I was like, yes, this is it. Let's get into it. And ballroom's just been incredible in terms of like it's a community designed, like created by and for people of colour, queer persons of colour, particularly trans women have like very much spearheaded the entire community, and it's very like protective of, you know, it's like it's safeguarding what the kind of the culture exactly, especially with things like Pose and Legendary and all this stuff that's made ballroom, which has always been really underground, more prevalent. It's meant that it's more popular, which is amazing because it means that more people who've like grown up in areas like me and felt on the outside and, you know, all of those feelings are now like, oh my God, this is the community I'm looking for. But at the same time, it then also attracts perhaps not too much of that, but you know, whenever anything gets popular, it sometimes
Attracts
loses, oversaturated, and it loses the heart of like what it's meant to be about. I think people lose like what the understanding of like what the space was there for, to like be a space where like queer and predominantly like black people of colour could come and express themselves freely. And it's why I also like, I always kind of analyse like, why are you walking a certain category? So like for me, like I walk face, which is kind of all about having like nice skin and, you know, prominent features and like selling your face. But when I look at like why I walk face, it sounds so, I don't mean to sound conceited, like I'm aware that like I have a nice face, but I think part of the reason that I've been drawn to face as a cat is because growing up I never felt attractive. Or like when people used to say to me like, oh, you know, you're pretty or whatever, I'd be like, huh? Because like growing up, like it was always like, you're pretty for a black girl, or like, you know, I've never like been with a black girl before, and there was like always a caveat to it, so I just never believed it. And now I'm able, the microaggressions were real for real.
Has then like boosted your confidence in that way? But because like, you know how you're also like judged at the same time, so is there any sort of like conflict there at all?
I guess like it's so when you walk a ball, it's either tens or a chop. And so if you walk down the runway, like you better come ready. And if it's a chop is like, so one chop, it's come back, do better next time. And obviously it's very exposing, like when you walk, like especially like for categories like realness and stuff, like you're really putting yourself out there. But that's the whole, I guess, aspect of the community. It's like, it's not to say you're not good enough. It's just to say, you weren't ready today, or not this time. And it could even be for shady reasons. It could be so many others. So I don't think people should be discouraged. But like at the same time, if you're going to walk a category, you got to know.
As well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like,
and if you
put yourself out there, and even though you don't do too well, try again next time.
Yeah,
and also
you get the chance to do it.
Even the point, the confidence you've got to that point to even want to walk, because that's even walking
that's
even
what I mean.
is even that takes a lot of confidence even to put yourself on that position in that position. So
and
the
like
growth as well of getting there.
And like, why do any of us put ourselves out of our comfort zone? It's to like, it's to grow, and it's to like, it's the validation. Like, if you go and you do a good job, you're then like, I'm sick as shit. I'm amazing. So yeah, it's like incredible, and I love ballroom. And I mean, I think for me, the most affirming thing in ballroom has been like family. And I know that's something we kind of like as queer people put around a lot, but it really is chosen family. So like, I'm in the Kiki House of Laveau, and they are like, it's just like they're everything to me.
You spoke about like feeling like you think you walked the face category because you felt like you weren't attractive. And can you kind of talk? I mean, I feel like it could segue into like feeling like imposter syndrome and not feeling like up to it, because you know we spoke about like putting yourself into a space, and actually, you know, again, you're exposing yourself. Like, how do you work around like imposter syndrome and like also stopping getting creative burnout, seeing as you're doing so much, especially if your job and it's 5 days a week. And then you're doing your Vogue, you're doing roller skating.
There's a lot going on, like my main job is TV. I'm a TV producer. and it's intense. Like a lot of the time I do wonder how long I can sustain this, because I think it's the same for anyone who freelances. You work really intensely for a certain amount of time, and then you don't know when your next gig's going to be.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you have to find time for joy. So it can be a lot.
Yeah.
But I guess every now and again, I have to like take stock of, you know, I'm very fortunate. Like I'm very lucky in that my job allows me to travel. I get paid to travel, which is really cool. I've worked on some really big shows for like BBC, Netflix, Channel 4, Sky, like all of these different companies, well, broadcasters. But it's a lot, like it's intense. And I think you just have to have the balance, because there's no point, burnout is real, and the more that you work hard at something and kind of feel that you're
Giving a lot of yourself.
when you're giving too much of your energy and too much of yourself, you do lose yourself, and you need to have that period afterwards to balance. And I think that's again where community and stuff comes in, because your friends usually can pick up on it before you can.
They can bring you back.
Yeah, you have to make time for your wellness, or else you'll be forced to make time for your illness. And it's so true.
That's a really interesting,
Like so
thing.
many of us,
true.
it's such a culture as well in London of like working, grinding,
Burning
like the
out.
London grind, and not actually taking stock of like how you're doing. And this, I think the like job insecurity.
Also
and all that.
surviving as well.
Yeah,
and just
for
general
sure.
financial insecurity as well. It's a very real
Big thing in London.
For real. I think you just got to have the confidence to know that like there's a reason you continue to be employed, and there's all these amazing things that you do. And if other people see that for you, then you have to see it for yourself. I always notice as well, sometimes I'll catch myself talking like inside voice, or like in my head.
Or negative talk.
And I'll be real nasty to myself. And I'm always
You're a
like,
saboteur.
not the RuPaul in saboteur.
Oh my god, that is RuPaul. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Not the inner saboteur. But no, Ru's right. Like, literally, sometimes I'll catch myself speaking to myself in a way that I'm like, you would
Drowning
never speak
yourself.
to anyone else like this. Why are you
Yeah.
talking to you? And of course, that then has like a carry-on effect.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not talking to yourself in a nice way, you're not going to think that like, you start believing the things that you tell yourself and you can't do
If
it.
your head is in a negative
Yeah.
headspace, it's not gonna. You're not really gonna. It's not gonna push you into a positive place where you can actually like start like
Yeah.
affirming yourself, or like, you know, like being
Pushing yourself.
yeah,
to-
pushing yourself forward.
Yeah.
In the dark.
Yeah.
In the dark zone.
I do believe in the power of affirmation, like you said too, because I do a lot
Boom.
of
Most
affirmations
doses of
myself.
affirmations.
And it's
You're good
not
with
just
that.
in my head that I do it, I actually physically say it to myself out loud as well. So say in a mirror, and it's like you telling yourself and getting your advice and putting back in what you've said to yourself.
So
That's
do you write
so
things
good.
down?
I just think
Writing things
Yeah.
down, it's,
affirmation
like,
for me
becomes
is more
physical.
just like talking things into existence, or like, you know,
Manifestation.
manifestation, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's a really powerful thing, and
Yeah,
it's
Sure.
like, for me, I think that's definitely been something. It's funny because like, even though it was kind of bittersweet losing my job, I had actually been like, oh, I really want to just like the DJing thing, I want to pursue this, and then it
Yeah,
happened,
and
and it was weird. It wasn't like the most like comfortable way it happened, but also like the point where I'm at now is like, it's like whoa,
But it also
And-
felt really natural.
and it felt
The
natural.
progression
Yes.
felt-
That's the
For
thing.
your
Yeah.
journey, I felt like it was really natural.
It's quite
to
natural.
see.
It's been quite natural, and I think that's what's really nice, because I feel like maybe I was just sitting cushy in my job, and maybe I wouldn't have pushed myself like into that. But then we get into the dilemma like we were talking about earlier about like doing your passion as your job, and then it gets all like.
You don't
There's-
want to taint it. You don't want to taint your beautiful like passion, but that's not the way to look at it.
Yeah.
No,
as
I'm
well,
not.
though.
No, for sure.
But in saying that too, I think it's important to have really good friends that you surround yourself with,
Yeah.
who always has a support. I think that keeps you up going to the direction that you want to go
Uplift
into
you.
as well. Yeah, I think that's really important, especially in times where you have like imposter syndrome or you have creative burnouts. Don't forget that you have friends out there that's always out there for you
Yeah, of
to help
course.
you out.
I mean, you talked about communities and like how have you
Mhm.
navigated and found your people? Do you think?
Yeah, like I would say so. I mean, I'm always like, if I see something I want to do, I go and do it. And so for like voguing, I was like, there's a ballroom I'm moving to London, so I went to
How
uni in
old
Bristol
were
and
you
lived
then?
there. So like at the time, so I started uni when I was 18, and I must have been like 22, 23 when I
Yeah.
moved to London. And I was like, there's a community there. I'm just gonna go. Like if there's something that I want to do, I do it. And so like roller skating was the same. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting some skates. Because I was a like coronavirus roller, like everyone was in lockdown getting their skates, and I was like, I'm gonna go. And then like
you were just starting out roller skating.
Yeah,
right?
like I love skating. It's so much fun. And again, it's like it's very different to like ballroom, but it's also a community. I think just it's always nice to be in a place where you can just like be passionate about something with a load of other people who get like why you're passionate about it. It's just fun. Like skating is just fun.
And I find that you can find that in London. I think like when I first moved here too, I found it hard to find my community, I'd say.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you're patient enough, you will eventually find your people here.
Yeah.
And it's so big, you're just bound to find that
London
like
has
1%.
for everyone.
You know,
Yeah.
London
For
has
sure.
everything for everyone.
Yeah.
Thank
you so much, Jazz.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been
Fabulous
cute.
time.
Hay fever has been coming, but we prevailed.
We
We moved. We
Yeah.
moved.
Well, thank you very much, Jess, for coming in today.
Thanks. It's been
yeah,
cute. It's been
lovely
cute.
to have you on Introverse. This is us. Check out our new content that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. I hope you enjoyed today. And yeah, I hope to have you back here again soon.
Yeah,
Love to work with you.
definitely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been lush.
Yay.
Hey.
Bye.